Welcome to the November 15th City of Oldsmar Council meeting. It is 7 p.m. I am calling this meeting to order. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Our next item on the agenda is our invocation and our pledge allegiance to the flag that will be led by our City Attorney, Tom Trask. Please rise.
Our Heavenly Father, help us to carry out the tasks necessary for us to fulfill our purpose. Help us to stay on track so that we may let this meeting work for our good and for the good of the community. Help us to be good stewards of positive change to benefit the city of Oldsmar and its residents. In this we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tom. Our next item on the agenda is our open forum, our public open forum. Each speaker will be recognized once and will be limited to a 5-minute presentation on any subject except for item 12, that is a public hearing. Please state your name and address for the record. The open forum will conclude at 7:30 p.m. Is there anybody on this side of the room? Come on up.
Hello, my name is Brandon Alford, and I just want to announce the opening of Lil Nate's Bakery. We're on 472 Douglas Road, East Oldsmar, Florida. We have a delivery. It's free if you are in between Florida and Douglas, and then it's only a $5 delivery fee. And we just opened up.
So just open today?
No, about 2 months ago.
And it's a bakery.
Yeah,
So-
but we do serve hot foods as well.
I love bakeries. So tell me a couple items you got. Do you have
Well-
donuts?
For you, we do.
I look forward to getting some donuts.
Yeah, I'll definitely give you.
Can you share a
One.
menu with us?
Yeah,
We'd
yeah.
love to-
I actually went there after the Veterans Day ceremony.
Tell us about it.
It was delicious.
Yeah?
They gave me a free sample of a pizza slice that was
Oh, they
pretty
got
on point.
biscuits and gravy.
That was me.
man.
That was me.
Biscuits
I was
and
dressed
gravy,
down a
Mayor.
little bit, but
All right, we got pizza too.
good.
Thank you.
Had a good bacon cheeseburger.
I'm excited.
That's okay. I'll get a copy.
It's where Andy's used to be.
Oh, is that it? Is that it? Oh, okay, okay, so we're Andy's.
Thank you guys so much.
Happy to welcome a new business.
Yep,
Thank you
welcome.
so
Thanks for
much.
coming up. Anybody else in this side of the room would like to speak to the council? All right, we're gonna go to this side of the room. Anybody over here? Come on up.
You have to put the mascot here. Okay.
His name is Frankie.
Tony and Craig Gross, 711 Satin Leaf Avenue. Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, city charter officials, and my community, I want to thank you for the many years of support that you have extended to my family and me since the combat theater death of our son, Frank, and hometown hero. Okay. I tried to synchronize it with the slideshow, but forget it. This is not going to work. Okay. You have honored United States Army Corporal Frank R. Gross in many ways, and most recently in the latest edition of Experience Oldsmar magazine, which highlights the new VFW, but also on page 16, a salute to veterans resources. There's the article, and it includes information about Frank too. And Craig and I really appreciate that we were thought of for this. And we also want to thank City Council and Leisure Services Director Chip Potts and Karen Beal for working with me to host a very special ceremony held at Tico Hall last September. And it's up in there somewhere. And it was called the Blue to Gold Ceremony. We appreciate the fact that you waived all the fees for that. And everyone enjoyed it so much that they wanted to know if they could do it again next year. So at that particular ceremony, Gold Star Mothers were given service banners by the Blue Star Mothers, and the Knights of Columbus were there to, with the changing of the colors. So we'll go there in just a couple seconds. And it was beautifully done. The Knights of Columbus provided a wonderful, wonderful meal for many, many families. So here it is right here. So I'm thanking you all for doing that, and Chip for helping me with that, and Karen too. And there's the Knights of Columbus who provided the beautiful meal. And the next slide should be the Gold Star families who were there present. And there are other ways in which Oldsmar has remembered Frank. The Fallen Soldiers Battlefield Cross at Oldsmar Veterans Memorial Park. Another way is a memorial bench at the Veterans Park too. I think that was dedicated Memorial Day 2012. Yes. And then, of course, the mural at Ari Olds Park that incorporates the photo of Frank. And of course, you all worked with Safety Harbor to for a resolution for the signage. And baseball field at Oldsmar Little League Sports Complex has Frank's name on it. So we just wanted to express our appreciation. And the other way is when you walk out the doors here, there's that beautiful picture hanging up of Frank. And that photo there is also incorporated in the memorial, at the picture at, mural picture at Ari Olds Park. And so thanks is not enough as our expression to memorialize Frank Gross, the only fallen soldier from Oldsmar that we know of. We're still waiting on Jerry Beaverland to come up with some other information, and that might happen, but we do appreciate it. But like I said, thanks is not enough, so I spent all day baking cupcakes, pumpkin cupcakes. So Craig will be bringing pumpkin cupcakes up to you all, and afterwards, you are welcome to take a cupcake, everybody here. So thank you so very much for supporting us, and we really appreciate it. And to all of our veterans who are here, happy Veterans Day too. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Craig.
Thank you. Frank, thank
I
you.
used to weigh 400 pounds, but I quit eating this.
Thank you
I
so
bet, now you're trying to
much.
give it away.
There are no nuts in them.
Thank you.
I'm sure you'll be
Like I
telling
said, I
us
saw
about the
you guys
wreaths
on
soon,
TV.
right?
Veterans Day. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
In your spare time. In your spare time. I would love that.
Good to see you too.
Thank you, Craig.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Reese across America.
Yeah, and
Okay.
even if you can't be there, you can still help.
What's that?
Just tell about wreaths across
Okay,
since the holidays are
for
coming up.
folks that don't know, December the 18th, Wreaths Across America is a huge organization. They lay over 2 million wreaths at veterans and fallen soldiers' graves throughout the United States, and they cover every grave at Normandy every year. It's an amazing organization, and you know, there's a saying in the military that a soldier dies twice. The first time when he's killed in action, and the second time when we quit mentioning their names. So we go to Arlington every year, we lay wreaths at soldiers' graves, and as we're laying the wreath at the grave, we say their name out loud. And it's significant that we do that. So it's December the 18th. You can just go online to sign up and find out. You know, a lot of people go from here to Bushnell, or they go down to the American Legion on Kennedy and Dale Mabry. That's my post, the American Legion that I belong to. Or you could go down to Sarasota National Cemetery down there, beautiful cemetery that looks like Arlington. So it's just a great organization. It's a great day and good fellowship and everything.
And you can
So
donate as well, too, if you can.
you can donate online. Every $15 that you donate will place a wreath at a gravesite. And if you donate in the name of Gold Star Awareness, which is a local nonprofit, we get $5 back in our little piggy bank. So thank you very much. Thank you. And I just want to basically underscore what my wife said. From the bottom of our hearts, we are deeply grateful to the city of Oldsmar for everything that you do for us and for the sake of our son's name. Amen. All right. God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very correct.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Craig.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak to the council? All right, with that, I'm going to close the citizens' open forum. The next item on our agenda is our community minute, and that will be read by our city clerk, Ann Nixon.
Well, it's that time of year again. We'll have the tree lighting ceremony, November 29th at 6 o'clock over at City Hall. It's the annual ceremony with the Citizen of the Year pulling the giant lever to light up the huge tree in front of City Hall and featuring holiday music. Winter Wonderland is Friday, December 2nd from 5 through 9 at Ari Olds Park. Celebrate the holidays Oldsmar style with a giant snow slide and visits with Santa himself. Be sure to catch the 5 o'clock show of Miss Suda's Dancers year-end holiday recital. And something I think is kind of new and pretty cool, Silver Santas. Now through Friday, December 2nd at the Public Library. Pick a gift tag off the tree at the library and become a Silver Santa by purchasing provisions. Programs assist local seniors in danger of being forgotten this holiday season. So be a Silver Santa. Oh, wow. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ann. Appreciate that very much. Next item on the agenda is approval of additional new agenda items, number 2, 4, 10, 12, 13, 22, 25, and 26. I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
How about a second?
Second?
Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is awards and recognition, and that will be taken care of by Councilmember Andrew Knapp.
Thank you, Mayor. As the mayor said, I'm presenting the November 2022 Council Manager Award. Good evening, everybody. Tonight, we as a council and city are thrilled to show gratitude to one of our great community heroes. The popular saying goes that not all heroes wear capes. As an aside, did you know that 174 sampled superhero characters, only 24% of them are known to wear capes? Perhaps a better saying than not all heroes wear capes would be most heroes do not wear capes. Tonight's award recipient does not wear a cape. Rather, she wears her heart on her sleeve to positively impact the lives of our little ones as they progress through the early years of receiving an education. Tonight, we celebrate Tammy Eddy for her many years of service to our great city of Oldsmar. She is a prime example of exemplary citizens that give back to the community that raised them. She attended Oldsmar Elementary well before it was situated at its current home along State Road 580. The Eddy family has been around this community long enough now that not only all of her children, but even her grandchildren have had the opportunity to learn about all the wonders of the world at Oldsmar Elementary. As a student myself at Oldsmar Elementary, I can still remember always seeing Miss Tammy at the school and doing whatever she could to make sure kids have a pleasurable experience at school, which many times involved a trip to Astroscape. That fun could be summed up in 2 words: dance room. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
In addition to her required responsibilities at the school, she took the role of president of the PTA multiple times over the years, oftentimes when nobody else wanted to volunteer. Being that we are such a close-knit community here in Oldsmar, I was lucky enough to get to connect with my kindergarten teacher from Oldsmar Elementary so that she could share some memories of Tammy. Here's what she has to say. Tammy has always gone above what she was asked to do, from coming in early to staying late to making sure that all of the staff had the copies they needed. When no one wanted the job of being the president of PTA, Tammy volunteered. She helped run the school's Christmas sale where the students could purchase presents for their families. She arranged after-school trips to Astro Skate and collected the permission slips and money. She has always been an integral member of the OES staff. At party times, food was brought to Tammy's office, and she set everything out and kept replacing items. She went to OES as a student. Her children went there and her grandchildren. There have been Eddies there for generations. And that comes from Mrs. Linda Rumi, former OES teacher and current Oldsmar resident. Being here for generations. That's a pretty common theme here in Oldsmar. Once we find such a paradise to call home, we don't leave. In addition to making positive impacts in kids' lives at the school campus, Tammy spent many years volunteering for a legendary youth football organization known as the Oldsmar Falcons. She helped by working as their cheerleading coordinator for 20 years. While the Falcons may be no more, Ms. Tammy is still here in Oldsmar and still doing things to make kids' lives more fun. In Tammy's own words, she loves doing things to help the kids have a good childhood. I grew up in Oldsmar and love this city. As her good friend, Mary Beth Yotis, told me, Tammy puts everyone ahead of herself. I think this speaks volumes for the kind of person she is and who most certainly deserves to be honored. So now, if you'll please join me in celebrating our capeless hero, Tammy Eddy, as the recipient of the November 2022 Council Manager Award.
So Andrew, one thing I love about the Council Manager Award is those little tidbits of history that we learn from each council member. That was a great story. Thank you for sharing that with us tonight. All right, next item on the agenda is our Community Redevelopment Agency. Vice Mayor, do we have any disclosures?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I currently reside inside the CRA, and I'll be filing my disclosure with the clerk tomorrow morning.
Thank you. Item number 2, authorize city attorney to draft resolution to update the CRA project list. Did you want to handle that, Felicia?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Authorize the city attorney to draft resolution to update the CRA project list consistent with Florida Statute 163, Part 3, and adopted budget. In 1996, the city of Oldsmar created a redevelopment trust fund pursuant to Florida Statutes 163-387. The trust fund was established to support activities within the community redevelopment area. The CRA is set to expire 30-year horizon in 2026. To further the goals of the CRA and to reflect the City Council's latest effort associated with the Downtown Redevelopment Plan, as well as other CRA projects, the city staff is recommending the adoption of the formal adoption of the community vision created for the city-owned property along Tampa Road near City Hall, and a schedule of future CRA projects to be initiated within this time period. The vision and mission, the community vision was established as a result of the visioning workshop held on July 20th, 2022. The below vision and mission serve as an update to any previous ones articulated for the 8-acre parcel located south of Tampa Road, north of State Street, east of the intersection of State Street and 580, and west of Washington Avenue. It's also known as the Goodrich site, Town Center, or the City Hall site. The vision is Oldsmar's Town Center will be a special place that deepens the community's identity, acknowledging its historic character, while sensitively incorporating a temporary mix of residential, commercial, civic, and public open space uses. It will be a place that connects people with an aesthetically exciting destination for young and old alike, while providing new economic opportunity for Oldsmar. The mission is to develop the 8-acre publicly owned site through exemplary planning and public support to generate an aesthetically pleasing, economically sustainable, iconic town center destination enjoyed by residents, customers, and visitors through a variety of experiences and places. An iconic town center embodies the following descriptions. It's a shared community asset and gathering place relevant to all members of the community. It's a character place designed sensitively for both the historic neighborhoods and regional location. It's an authentic experience with local businesses and features that are distinct to Oldsmar. It's economically vibrant with active living, shopping, working, civic use, and diverse local events. It's a walkable, safe, inviting destination that is embraced by residents as part of community life. Consistent with Florida Statutes 163, Part 3, and the CRA visioning, the anticipated projects within the CRA in the next few years include the following. It's important to know that these are already adopted as part of your budget process. The first, number one, continue the City Council's efforts to redevelop the city-owned parcels located near the library and City Hall. These efforts include professional planning and engineering services, surveys, design, and construction. Number two, continue the City Council's efforts for acquisition of blighted properties within the Oldsmar CRA and their associated expenses. Number three, a downtown mobility study efforts completed in coordination with Forward Pinellas. Number four, the St. Petersburg Drive Streetscape and Drainage Project. Number five, the CRA Extension Study. Number six, the theater feasibility and possible construction for the site adjacent to the library. Number seven, safe routes to schools improvements. And number eight, streetscape improvements. Staff recommends approval.
All right, the recommended motion is to authorize the city attorney to draft a resolution to update the CRA project list consistent with FS 163, number 3, and adopted budget. Do I have a motion?
So moved?
Second?
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Do you want to handle number 3 too?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Number three is evaluation of received letters of interest and recommendations for the next steps in the process of development of the city-owned property in downtown City Hall site. To further the city's vision to create an Oldsmar Town Center, on July 20th, the city hosted a community visioning workshop using GIA Consultants, Inc. to create a vision, mission, values, and goals specifically for the property near City Hall. On August 16th, the City Council approved the proposed vision, mission, values, and goals as presented by GAI. On September 6th, the City Council approved a specific letter of interest solicitation. The solicitation was sent over to over 14,000 targets, with responses due on October 14th, 2022. The city received 9 letters of interest in response to the solicitation. Laura Smith from GAI Consultants Community Solutions Group will present the results of their evaluation and recommend next steps for the City Council's consideration. May I present Laura Smith?
Good evening, everyone. Laura Smith with GAI's Community Solutions Group. So as your city manager just described, we did receive 9 responses to the request for LOI that was sent out, and all of the 9 responses were, generally speaking, compliant with the page count and word count, things like that. So of the 9 responses, though, I believe you all have the memo that we issued outlining our evaluation of each of those 9 respondents and recommending which of those 9 respondents we would recommend going forward to a invitation-only RFP solicitation process as a next step. So if you recall, when we were originally talking about the LOI, we talked about, some next steps if maybe you got a great submission through the LOI that just was exactly what you had all envisioned for that site, that you would then have the ability to move directly into negotiations. Based on what we evaluated, it's not that people didn't submit good ideas and concepts within their letter of interest response that they provided. It was simply that there wasn't really enough information there to tie a few things back together. So given that, we didn't think that there was enough information to compel a direct negotiation with any of the developers that are provided here. However, at this point, we would recommend that you go through an RFP solicitation, and that those invitations are targeted to the 5 firms that we think most effectively responded to the LOI based on the information that's provided in the memo that we issued. So if you have any questions about those, I'd be happy to answer them. I do want to let you know that though we're recommending that you invite just these 5 to respond, it is at your discretion whether you would like to allow all of the 9 organizations that did submit. That ultimately is your decision how you want to invite to the next stage. But the RFP process that will then follow, in our recommendation, should be limited to those who participated in the LOI and preferably limited down to those that most consistently responded.
Okay, any questions? I have one. Do you want to list the 5 that you
Oh,
mentioned?
sure.
So
So,
that we all know?
right, so there were 9 total respondents, and based on the evaluation of those responses, we recommend in alphabetical order, not by ranking or order, but listed alphabetically, we would recommend that you invite the Falcone Group, Pridgeon Development, Skyview Companies, Stanberry Development Group, and Woodfield Development to participate in an RFP going forward.
Okay, perfect. Are there any questions for Laura? Councilmember Gannon.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple points of clarification for those who might have not been able to follow the various documents of the LOI and then
Absolutely.
the subsections of the LOI and the chart. I just wanted to kind of get, for the benefit of the public, some of the items which, or some of the developers' responses which were partial response, no response, some of the things that you felt were lacking that led to your current recommendation.
Absolutely. So what we boiled the LOI down to was essentially there are 4 components of the LOI that we said that in our request for response said these 4 things you need to provide description of, information on, you need to address these topics. And we tried to limit that to, just a handful of things. That was mostly for efficiency purposes in terms of the respondent, so that they did not expend too much time or energy preparing this in the way that they will an RFP. These are intended to be more summarized, a little bit more concise responses at this stage, and then they would go forward from there. So the 4 items that are in the LOI that we asked for information on were the general scale, activity, or focus of the desired program, and any challenge that may pose, and a clarification of whether they were interested in a leasehold or a full fee transaction for the land. We also asked that they provide up to 3 resumes of the persons who would be involved in the planning or development effort, including at least 1 who would remain involved as a principal. And then also statement or discussion of any prior venture or relationship of some kind with a public agency, regardless of scale or nature of that interaction. And if there's no such relationship, then to make an affirmative statement indicating that there is no such relationship. And then also descriptions of no more than 3 projects that are in substantial stages of construction or already operational that involve at least 1 of the principals that that they provided resumes for. So some of these tie together, and it's kind of a cumulative build effect. So one of the concerns that we had in our evaluation was that while many of these provided lots of projects as examples, they didn't really help us understand what their role was in that project. So when it's a teaming condition, we don't really know, well, this is a great project, it's under construction, it's coming out of the ground. What was your role in that project? Was that a design that you created? Are you the developer? Were you doing the entitlements at the beginning? How much of that were you involved in? And we just didn't get that level of information back in the responses, which is one of the key reasons that we would not recommend selecting and going straight into any type of negotiation at this stage. Because while we did get some great examples of work that they've done, that these different respondents have done before and different projects that have come out of the ground that they've produced, a lot of those were really interesting, and you could see some parallels and how they're relating back to similarities of some of the things that we see in your mission and vision statement for this site. We just couldn't really tie them directly to it, and we didn't think that independently verifying those things at this stage was really appropriate. But that's definitely something that we'll be seeking additional information on as part of the RFP process. In those 3 projects, we did ask that they detail the explicit role in implementing the concept, how it was funded or financed, including the approximate amount of debt or equity, and then why the project is relevant to the City Hall site and the related uses there. So these were the kind of things we were looking for information on. So when you see in our sort of evaluation matrix that we provided, for example, the first item on that list, which was general scale, activity, or focus of the desired program, if that may pose challenges, and whether they're interested in a leasehold or full fee transaction. So when you see then in the review comments, where you see that would be item 1, a handful of these either sort of responded or didn't respond to that topic at all. The ones that did a partial response, maybe they said, yes, we're interested in a leasehold or we're interested in a full fee transaction, but they didn't address what the programmatic issues could be or what type of program they'd be interested in there. So when we say, I try to clarify when it was a partial response, what was left out of it, less so than what was included, because there's so much more to include. So unless they just didn't respond at all to that section, I tried to provide a clarification of what the missing element was. Typically, it was either the program or that they failed to address the condition of a leasehold or full fee transaction for that first topic.
Right.
And then in the subsequent, you'll see a similar type of clarification on those. So if I say partial response, it's because, for some of these, they maybe didn't identify a principal, or they gave us a bunch of resumes and didn't tell us who was who or what role they would be in.
Yeah.
Which was a difficult thing to then try to unpack. The same thing with a lot of the project responses. Some of those came in and were partial responses where maybe they addressed the first 2 items, but they didn't really address the 3rd item. So we kind of took that and weighed all of those together, and that's how we came to the recommendation of these 5 entities, as they did most comprehensively respond, even though no one responded to every single thing.
Yeah, I especially appreciated the chart as to number 3, which was the statement or description of prior ventures or relationships with public entities. And so, for example, 2 of them that didn't make the short list of the recommended ones provided no response to that item. And that's a concern. Obviously, we expressed in the letter of interest that, that was important to us. And if you don't respond at all, it's kind of hard to move forward
Exactly.
with
So that was one of the concerns, where there was, if a
Okay.
partial response, at least we got some piece of that puzzle addressed. And because it's an LOI, like I said, we don't expect them to respond to this at the level of detail and granularity that we would out of an RFP.
Right.
But we expect them to address something, even if they say, we're open to either a leasehold or a fee simple. We
Right.
would be interested in either condition, that would be fine. We just need some sort of acknowledgement that they understand that is the condition and that is the
And then
thing that you're looking for
consistently
feedback on.
across the others that also didn't make the short list, they were partial responses as to the projects that they'd previously been involved in and what their role was in those projects.
Yes.
So that was another important, the other factors were important to me as well, but those were particularly important, so.
I
thank you
would
for the
say
chart.
yes, that was a similar
Yeah.
concern for us as
Yeah.
well, which is why those, some of them then, as you start pulling through and putting these things together and stacking them up next to them, certain ones start rising to the top.
Yeah, so thank you very much for the chart and the analysis, that was very helpful.
Thank you.
Councilmember Knapp, you have any questions?
Yeah, just real quick. I think you kind of already summed it up already, but was there anything else as far as the evaluation goes to kind of perform this filtering function besides essentially the comprehensiveness or the completeness of the response?
So
Like
we
any
were-
other intangible as far as what was brought to the table?
So some of the project responses, yes. So the project list that they gave us of example projects, we scrutinized those a little bit more closely because one of the things that we wanted to know about those were how are they relevant to what's happening here? How is this an example that you're providing, that how do we connect these dots? So that was one of those where some of them, it was like, okay, well, this project is at a very different scale, but it was in a CRA, it was part of a redevelopment project, it was, included a combination of uses similarly that are contemplated here being a mixture of uses. Maybe it involved a public space like a city council chambers or a city hall or a large park or something like that. So those connections were things that were a little bit more deeply scrutinized. But otherwise, we were looking for, did you provide this information, and, can we kind of tie it all together? Less so about we weren't really concerned about what the actual program is that they're suggesting. More so, do you have a concept? Do you have a thought in mind for this? Because if they've articulated it at this point generally, then we know that we can continue working with them to then refine that to be consistent with your vision and mission. Those that got really into the conversation about the vision and mission were really actually helpful, where they would actually identify what was connecting back. They'd say, every project that we're providing you here as an example was a redevelopment project, or every project was something that was built as a public-private partnership, or every project was something that was a mixed use with, a civic component. So those were helpful descriptions that really, help some stand out more than others.
Okay, thank you.
Meeting over here.
Just two questions. First one, was there a Q&A section after we asked for the LOI?
We did have a virtual pre-submittal conversation,
Okay.
and I think I put the numbers in the memo of how many people registered for that. It was it was 35 people registered to attend or participate. That would be excluding your city manager, of course, who participated, myself, anyone else from the consulting team that was there. But in terms of total participation, you had 35 people who registered for that. And it was a good Q&A session. It lasted a little over an hour, and we basically just allowed it to be open as a Zoom type situation. So we did a quick 5-minute introduction of the vision and mission process that had already transpired. We kind of walked through the LOI and the components of it, and then allowed people to ask questions. And then there was also questions that were then subsequently emailed in, and those were responded to as well.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Nothing else? No, I wanted to know a little bit more of what went into the analysis, which you've already addressed, and so I am good. I'm all set.
All right. Well, I just want to say that I thank you for all your hard work in putting this together for all of us. I know this is a task that the people of the city of Oldsmar have asked for, and you've done an amazing job, so thank you for all your hard work. So I guess the next question I have for the council is, I personally agree with the 5 that are picked. Does anybody want to make any changes to that? Okay.
I understand the methodology behind filtering it down. I just don't know if we would already be restricting ourselves so much by narrowing it down purely on the merits of responding to an LOI. While it may give us some indication about who may be more primed or better suited to address our project here, at the same time, I don't want to restrict it too much. And from the sense of getting to the next stage of having potentially more respondents to an RFP, what that amounts to as far as a risk-reward scenario is, it may cost us some more from evaluation time from GAI to get through that next phase, right? But we may have a couple more options, and we don't know what we may see, because there wasn't really a lot of substance there with what are we actually going to see on the land, right? It was kind of what's being proposed, very high-level conceptual type stuff. So that's where I stand. I could kind of go either way, but I have some hesitancy in already narrowing it down so much.
And I have a question. Is there one in particular or 2 in particular that you'd like to add?
That's a good question.
I guess, forgive me,
Go ahead, speak.
if all 9 met the criteria, would the recommendation would have been 9?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess that's where I am. It's more evaluation time. You're saying these 5 are what we would move forward with. And I think what Councilmember Knapp is, what's the harm in having all 9?
That's where I'm at, and kind of also was with my question, which is kind of trying to maybe better understand really where was the threshold of defining that
what the response was good enough, right? And not great or fantastic, because if we were to purely go off of your comments and completeness, well, only one respondent knocked it out of the park on all four, right? And
I don't
then-
think we had any that,
Well, I think there's one that's all complete, right?
oh yeah, we had one that was all
One.
complete.
And then another one had 3 out of 4. So
Mm-hmm.
it starts dropping off kind of dramatically to where, there wasn't one that was no response. They didn't hit 0 for 4, right? They got partials. So that's where I'm kind of struggling is what was that threshold of, here's the cutoff. That's how we got to 5. Not, well, where was the actual cutoff that it could have been 6 or 7, as you're asking. So I don't quite see that clear distinct of
There
where the
were-
line was drawn.
We were looking at it in terms of sort of the importance of the elements. So there were pieces of this where if they didn't give you that information, or maybe they didn't really cover it, they sort of hinted at it. It was like, okay, well, they understood that that's an issue, but maybe they're just not prepared to address that yet, or something like that. But as we get into specifically the last really 2 items, the question of whether or not they've ever participated in a venture with a public agency, a non-response to that is a little concerning. And then whenever you see that stacked up with other non or partial responses, what we were attempting to do was find the ones that were most complete, but also where the elements that were incomplete were not elements where you're starting to now have questions about whether or not they would actually be able to go forward to the next step of this. Some of these folks obviously spent a lot of time really thinking this through, writing up concepts and responses, being very selective with the projects. And then you've got some of the responses that feel kind of like they put a whole lot of stuff in there because they maybe didn't have time or something to filter that down more. And then you've got some that may have just submitted some of their standard marketing materials with, a couple of extra pieces mixed in there, as opposed to really following the LOI. So that's how we kind of came to this selection of, these 5 really most completely responded, and especially to the things that would help us understand whether or not this is a process that they can get through with you. But also because we're looking for someone who's going to submit a really high-quality RFP response, who can follow the instructions of an LOI that was pretty straightforward, and then submit a very comprehensive RFP, because you want to make sure that anyone you're inviting to respond to the RFP is capable of responding at the level of detail and granularity that's going to demand, given that the LOI was more general in nature. So that was why we kind of filtered down to these 5. Now, I don't know if you were looking at the other 4, that there's a big jump between them, like where you could say, well, these 2 versus those 2 kind of thing, or this one, or anything like that. I don't really see that jumping out. But it's certainly an option. If you see something there that really strikes you that you'd like to include, I would kind of, given the level of evaluation that we've done, I would not recommend that you go piecemeal picking from the others. If you would like to add more, then I would suggest you use all 9, as opposed to then selecting individually in that other 4 that we put as a non-invite to the RFP.
Okay,
Then I don't have another 2.
all right,
It's not her recommendation.
all right. Thank you. Councilmember Gannon.
Thank you, Mayor. I recognize and I appreciate your comments, Councilmember Knapp. I guess I came at it from a bit of a different angle, which we learned from our mapping, remember, in our
Yes.
council planning session, where we talked about how each of us come at things from a different angle. And as I mentioned, the no response as to the public-private previous partnership, and kind of the lack of response to the number 4, the role and the types of projects that they've previously done, that bothered me. It did feel a little bit like, here's our marketing materials, hope you pick us. And what I'm looking for is, I suppose you could term it quality over quantity. I'm looking for a partner for this project that is committed to providing not only written materials, but, you know, a negotiation, a true partnership, a willingness to work with us to really embody the vision statement and the mission that we just read, and kind of directed our city attorney to put into resolution format for the rest of our CRA period. So when I reviewed the chart, I was actually a little bit disappointed that some folks didn't provide
I
a
agree.
more fulsome response. While I understand that it's hard to anticipate and cross every T and dot every I and anticipate everything that we're looking for, I get that. But a no response to some of those critical things that our citizens and staff have made clear are really important for us to evaluate kind of struck me and inclined me to go with the recommendation of the 5 groups that were the most responsive. I do agree that it's kind of all or nothing. You either take all 9 or you take the 5 as recommended. But I'm looking for someone who used every last character, you know, in that word count. Every last question was answered to the best of their ability, who has the most experience, who has, you know, the list of projects and clear details as to how they were involved in and what kind of fee transaction they're interested in and the financial details. So I guess I don't see it as limiting our options, but sort of improving the possibility that the options we will have are of the best quality. But I completely understand your comments and thoughts, and it reminded me instantly of how we each kind of come at things.
Yep.
So those were my thoughts.
Thank you so much. Any other comments over here?
No, I just think that's what, it's important to point out, if we had 27 of them and they all met the criteria, I think the recommendation would be move forward with the 27. There was no directive to say whittle this down, right? We're not at that point yet, so that's why I was comfortable with the recommendation as well. I just wanted to make sure that was stated. That was it for me.
Vice Mayor?
You know, to me, and I appreciate all the input, and I understand all the input, and typically being on the other side and being the respondent for the RFPs and the LOIs, I kind of understand the process we're going through. But at the same time, you know, we decided to put a process in place to get this downtown done. We're going to hire GAI, we're going to move forward, we're going to go through an LOI process, we're going to narrow that down. I just don't like veering from that course that we set forward, because that's going to cause more delays down the road, I believe. More time to process, and I know that our citizens are eager to get this done. It's going to take some time, but at the same time, we agree on a course, and I think we need to stay that course.
All right. First of all, I want to just say one other thing. I'm just glad we got 9. I think that's wonderful. That just shows that you did an amazing job, the city did an amazing job getting 9 to actually bid on a project or be involved in the project. So my personal opinion, again, as I stated at the beginning, I think we should stick with the 5 and move to the next step. Felicia, city manager, would you like to add anything?
No, sir.
Okay. So do we need a motion for this, Tom?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd make a motion to approve the next steps as recommended by GAI, Community Solutions Group, to move forward with the 5 as identified in the memorandum.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
No.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. You got a job ahead of you.
Yes, we do. Thank you all.
Thank you for all your heart. Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is item number 4, approved notice of termination of development. You want to take care of that too, Felicia?
Yes, sir. Approved notice of termination of development agreement with Oldsmar Towns LLC. On November 7, 2017, the City Council approved a development agreement with Oldsmar Towns LLC for 50 residential single-family townhomes on 3.774 acre property located in the CRA adjacent to the Oldsmar Public Library. On June 5, 2018, a second amendment to the development agreement that included a site plan and architectural changes was not approved by City Council. As such, the project didn't go forward. This item requests the approval of the notice of termination of the development agreement with Oldsmar Towns LLC, as this project did not go forward. Staff recommends approval.
All right, I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
A second? Any other discussion on this item? All in, oh,
I just wanted to make one point of clarification. I got a couple questions about this.
Sure.
This is the development agreement that was brought forth with Tony Tanico and the architectural changes. Gabby McGee was on council and asked him questions about those architectural changes. This has nothing to do with any current project
Correct.
in the works. I just wanted to put that out there. This is more of a housekeeping sort of matter, in my
Yes.
opinion. So,
yes, and
thank
it's
you.
funny, it was approved and then it fell apart quick.
Well, I remember the dynamics of the market changed, and I believe he had to go with a different builder, and the design specifications changed, and the overall look and the feel of it. I remember that meeting when Mr. Tanico was here, and he was here certainly in good faith, but it just didn't quite meet the council's approval and the character they were looking for, so.
All right, I have a motion and a second, and that was discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is our consent docket, and that will be read by our city clerk, Ann Nixon.
Item number 5, approved minutes of the October 18, 2022 council meeting. Item number 6, approved minutes of the October 27, 2022 work session regarding town hall meetings and charitable donations. Item number 7, approved payment to legal counsel for October 2022 legal services. Item number 8, approved 2018-001 RFP contract amendment number 4 for citywide janitorial services with United States Service Industries Incorporated. Item number 9, approve awarding the purchase of grounds maintenance equipment to Westco Turf under the same pricing terms and conditions of Sourcewell contract number 031121 CC 23-004. And item number 10, approve awarding annual purchase of polymer for the water reclamation facility to the KED Group Incorporated under the same pricing terms and conditions as the City of Titusville, Florida contract number 19-B-042, piggyback 20-011. That's it.
Thank you very much. Does anybody wish to pull any item from the agenda? All right, with that, I need a motion to approve.
So move.
Second?
Second.
I have a motion to approve. Any other discussion on any item? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is item 11, and that is the presentation of the Mobley Bayou Habitat Restoration Project presented by Philip Ryan-Smith from Southwest Florida Water Management District. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'm Philip Ryan-Smith, environmental scientist, project manager for the Water Management District. The project I want to give to you today, the presentation, is on the Mobley Bayou Habitat Restoration Project at your lovely park off Lafayette. So the project is a multi-year restoration project. It's cooperative between the Water Management District, Pinellas County, and the city of Oldsmar. The project area is about 225 acres. It does include the park. I've got some slides I'll show you of the habitat and some of the plans that we have for the restoration. It's an important area within the city. It includes Upper Tampa Bay, one of our priority water bodies with the Water Management District, so we're looking forward to this project. So this map, to kind of orient you, you can see upper part of the, if you're familiar with the park, those large ponds are actually on as part of the park, part of the recreation area. It does include portions of Upper Tampa Bay watershed, kind of in the center lower part of the slide. So the work areas, and I'll get into a little bit more of the details of the restoration. Those areas shown in yellow are the work areas. It includes mangroves, salt habitats, natural areas, and also some impacted areas, and those are the ones that we focus on for the restoration. So what are our project goals? This project's been in the planning process for some time. So the goals would be removal of spoil mounds. Now, part of the mosquito control back in the 50s and 60s were to dig these canals, and you're familiar with seeing them, to control mosquitoes. Moderately effective approach, but nevertheless they're there. So part of the project will restore hydrologic conditions by removing some of these spoil mounds and also some of the other changes that have occurred with past mining operations. That's what those ponds were, are past mining operations. To restore tidal movement through the mangroves. A lot of pristine mangroves out there. I know there's a kayak trail. People really enjoy that, that experience out there. Reduce the occurrence of nuisance plants. A lot of those areas have Brazilian pepper and some other nuisance that takes away from some of the habitat value. The long-term maintenance will be done by Pinellas County. There should be minimal maintenance, but as part of that memorandum of understanding between the county and the city of Oldsmar, they take care of the environmental management of those lands. Oops. So the process that we use for removing these spoil mounds is a technique called hydroblasting. It's essentially taking a fire hose and blasting down those mounds. It's pretty cool to watch. So this is another project that we did in Feather Sound. Real typical of those mounds. They walked a piece of equipment through and dug these ditches, and there are these spoil piles. A lot of times the nuisance exotic plants colonize these, and it's difficult to get in their control. It's an endless, process to control the nuisance plants. So this is after that process, hydroblasting. So that levels that material out, basically putting it back into those ditches. Right. It doesn't have any impact on navigation, so it won't have any impact on the kayak trails. It essentially improves those habitat areas that were lost from that activity. This is one after, just a couple of months after that restoration. You can see the mangroves coming back in those areas. I'll go through the plans. This is essentially our design plans for the project and just give you a little description of what's kind of going on there. So as you remember back to the previous slide where it showed all those mining pits, this is the most southern pit. You can see up in the upper left-hand corner of the slide, that's the kayak launch. Again, a lot of people use this area for kayaking and launching small craft there. So the area in red that you see represents some of those the mining spoil that was left along there. And I've got a couple of slides coming up to show you kind of the issues with that. So I'll go through the slides and kind of show you the work area and some of the detail of, so kind of continuing south into the upper portions of Tampa Bay. The orange represent those spoil mounds, which will be reduced. Also some recontouring of those mining pits that are remaining there. Again, moving further south to Tampa Bay, those areas in orange are the spoil areas that will be removed by that process, hydroblasting. And then finally, the south end, you can see upper Tampa Bay in the lower right-hand corner. Again, reducing those areas for mangrove habitat. So this is a project that's been going on for some time. Our design is completed. We are moving into environmental permitting, hopefully to conclude this winter. As far as the environmental permitting, the district goes to Department of Environmental Protection for its permits. We can't permit ourselves. So the county would be signing that permit as the landowner. Construction is proposed for fall of 2023. So with any sort of luck, we'll continue this process, and it is a lovely park. I mean, it really is a keystone of the city. A lot of people use it. You'll hear from Empower tonight, and it's just a great little area. I think it's a lot of people don't know about it, so it's a great little park. But thank you for the opportunity. We appreciate your help, and the district appreciates other projects that we've been able to cooperatively work on together. So thank you.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're
I was
welcome.
talking to Felicia when we were going over it today. It's about a $1.1 million project.
Yeah, that's the construction part of that. Of course, we're through design. That's what
That's
we
the
budgeted
total.
for the project. We always hope that they come in under budget, but it's been going on for some time. So, construction costs and, it's an interesting process. They have to basically float these small barges with pumps out there, and they blast these things down. So,
Are we allowed to come out and watch?
Yeah, I will let you know. You're welcome to
I
come.
actually would like to see that. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
the before and after pictures look incredible.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well,
So
we
let me.
thank you.
I think yeah. So that's the end of it.
Well, before you leave, do we have any questions?
I just had a quick question about the potential impact, if any, to wildlife in that area. You know, sometimes you see the gopher tortoise mounds and the different things. I'm sure you guys have encountered that in the past. I was just curious if you could.
Yes, since as far as wildlife use of those mounds, they're pretty sterile. I mean, they're surrounded by mangrove wetlands, so typically there aren't any endangered species like gopher tortoises that use them. Now, if those were in an upland area, yeah, they make condos out of those. So,
Right.
Surrounded by mangroves, most of what's there is nuisance exotic vegetation. They're very sterile because they're, out of that that wetland habitat. So leveling those down, and it encourages, you get the footprint restoration of the removal of the mounds. So that's recolonized by mangroves very quickly. You also get the water quality because you're mimicking those tidal movements back into those
Right.
areas that have lost it. So.
Well, that was another question I had, because Felicia and I were talking about this earlier. I was like, it says increase the residence time of surface water. Does he mean residence time? And we were like, yeah, he really does, because people think, okay,
that's-
stormwater, get it out of here, shoot it out of a pipe and get it out into the bay, but that's actually awful for the water quality of the bay. It's better if it slowly percolates down into the ground and filters through the necessary, soils and everything. And I had no idea. And also that, destroys sidewalks and trails and erodes the kind of, they look like large sandbags of concrete to me, and maybe that's what they are, but I was really pleased to see that, because people use those trails.
Right, exactly. And as far as residence time, that's just a fancy way of saying the
Right.
time that the water remains in there. So a lot of those mosquito ditches are essentially rivers that are cut through those mangroves. So
Yeah.
when the tide comes in, the tide moves up those channels without dispersing, except on, king tides and those larger tides. They don't, the tides don't move up into those mangroves, which are fisheries habitats, important to, the food chain, the basic biology of the system. So those tides move up and down. So what we try to do is, when we blast those mounds down, is create, almost an effect where the water takes more time to get through those systems. I mean, in a
Right.
perfect world, you'd like to fill all those things in. They do have some benefit for mosquito control, so it's not one of those things you want to go in and just erase it off the landscape, So, yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, it does help water quality, and again, it's, one of our priority water bodies in Tampa Bay, so we always look for opportunities to work on that system.
We've done some sustainability projects, including the vertical oyster gardens, to help improve the water quality, I think 2 years ago or so. We actually just checked on them, so it was really cool. I know Felicia, our city manager, has been working on this project since she got to Oldsmar, right? And partnership.
I've been at meetings for this project, certainly. My very first week I got here about 6 years ago, I went to a meeting to
Yeah.
discuss this project.
It's been like a
so.
long time in the
Yeah,
making, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and this project kind of spun out of a DOT mitigation project that we had. So, there's plenty of opportunity out there. We definitely won't get the last of the spoil mound, so.
And it has my favorite sentence: "There is no budgetary impact on the city."
Yep.
There you go.
'Cause we-
Those are
you
the
know,
best
it's-
kind.
Well, it's
Yeah.
great to be able to create
Yeah.
kind of like a win-win.
And
you
again,
know?
it's an important part because, the city does own a lot of,
Wetlands.
the lands out there. It's kind of a checkerboard of undeveloped areas that were
Right.
part of, developments long, long time ago, so.
That we love.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again.
Councilmember Knapp?
Just one question. So on your slides there, you had your proposed commencement of construction activities. Do you have a estimated duration?
Once they start, we envision only a couple of months, depending on it's tide dependent. So they need tide to get the equipment back there and do all that. It's pretty rigorous, work. A couple of months when we start, but what I'll do is I'll send Chip kind of a monthly update or something to let you know. So if you want to go out and take a look at it,
Wonderful.
But, it should go pretty quickly once we start.
Very good.
So,
Thank you.
Good?
Thank you so much.
Any questions over here? Nope. All right, well, thank you so
Great,
much.
thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Great job, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is item number 12, and that's our public hearing, which will be taken care of by our city attorney, Tom Trask.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a public hearing for the first reading of ordinance 2022-12, amending the Code of Ordinances to address false fire alarms. You remember that on November the 1st, the council authorized me to prepare this draft ordinance for your consideration and approval. Fire chief's in the audience, I'm sure if you have questions, but I'm going to go ahead and read that ordinance by title only. Ordinance 2022-12, an ordinance of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, creating Article 3, false fire alarms, and Article 4, reporting requirements to Chapter 30, fire prevention and protection of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Oldsmar to provide for definitions, restrictions, penalty, enforcement, appeal provisions with regard to false fire alarms, and reporting requirements for fire protection systems, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date of this ordinance. That was the first reading of ordinance 2022-12 by title only.
Thank you. I don't believe there's any presentations, so I'm going to open up the public hearing. Is there anybody that needs to be sworn in? Okay, then I'm going to close the public hearing. I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Any other discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Graber?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Buckman?
Yes.
Councilmember Knapp?
Yes.
Councilmember Gannon?
Yes.
Mayor Saraki?
Yes.
First reading of ordinance 2022-12, amending the Code of Ordinances to address false fire alarms, passes with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Item 13.
Sure. Item 13 is to adopt Resolution 2022-23, approving a statewide memorandum of understanding regarding opioid litigation. I want to read this background a little bit. The state of Florida has been litigating against numerous pharmaceutical companies engaged in the manufacture, marketing, promotion, distribution, and dispensing of opioids. The state has reached a potential settlement and is seeking approval from all cities and counties. The settlement includes a state fund, a regional fund, a city-county fund. The city-county fund includes a direct distribution to all cities with a population greater than 10,000. The settlement amount to be deposited in each fund is based upon a number of different variables. Any distribution from the regional fund would require a separate agreement with the county. The funds from the settlement can only be used for opioid abatement activities. Those are listed in the exhibit that's attached. Staff recommends the adoption of this resolution 2022-23, approving the statewide memorandum of understanding regarding this litigation. I'll go ahead and read that resolution by title only. Resolution 2022-23, a resolution authorizing the City of Oldsmar, Florida, herein referred to as this governmental unit, to join with the state of Florida and other local governmental units as a participant in the Florida Memorandum of Understanding and formal agreements implementing a unified plan and to provide for an effective date hereof. That was the reading of Resolution 2022-23 by title only.
Thank you. So the recommended motion is to adopt Resolution 2022-23, approving statewide memorandum of understanding regarding opioid litigation. I need a motion to approve.
So moved?
A second?
Second.
Any other discussion on this matter? So I just want to say I was telling Felicia today in our meeting, I was on a Zoom call that statewide, this is a serious issue with young adults. And it was for the Florida League of Cities that I was on a Zoom call. And they were talking about that. So this is definitely something that we need. And the funding that we do receive will go right to Pinellas County so that we can handle this project together as a coalition. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Tom. Next item on the agenda is our city manager, Felicia Donnelly.
Thank you, Mayor. Approve agreement between the City of Oldsmar and Palm Harbor Oldsmar Professional Firefighters, Local 2980 of the International Association of Firefighters, IAFF, Unit 1 for a period from October 1st, 2022 to September 30th, 2025. Negotiations between the city's management team and IAFF began in June of 2022 toward a new 3-year collective bargaining agreement covering the period from October 1, 2022 through September 30th, 2025. Over the course of 7 bargaining sessions, the bargaining teams negotiated changes to 10 articles as reflected in the attached collective bargaining agreement and the summary of changes. Oldsmar members of the Palm Harbor Oldsmar Professional Firefighters Local 2980 of the IAFF ratified the agreement on November 3rd, 2022. The agreement is combined to cover two separate bargaining units. Unit 1 is recognized by the Public Employees Relations Commission to include all full-time firefighters and fire inspectors, and Unit 2 is recognized to include captains and lieutenants. This agreement is presented to City Council as two separate items to facilitate council approval for each bargaining unit. The attachments for this agenda item also apply to Unit 2. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion. How about a second?
Second.
Any other discussion?
Step plan?
You guys want to say anything? You excited? We are, thank you very much. All right, that's what I wanted to hear.
Step plan.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations.
Oh, wait. Are you in the first group or the second unit? No, you're one.
I knew that was coming. All right, next.
Item number 15, approve agreement between the City of Oldsmar and the Palm Harbor Oldsmar Firefighters, Professional Firefighters Local 2980 of the International Association of Firefighters, IAFF, Unit 2 for a period of from October 1st to 2022 to September 30th, 2025. Negotiations between the city management team and IAFF began in June of 2022 toward a 3-year collective bargaining agreement covering the period from October 1st, 2022 through September 30th, 2025. Over the course of the 7 bargaining sessions, negotiated changes to 10 articles as reflected in the attachment to the previous agenda item. The summary of changes and contract are presented with the agenda item for Unit 1. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you so much. I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right, any other discussion?
Thank you, guys.
You guys are a big part of our community and for our city. We thank you for your hard work. I just want you to know that.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations.
Level up, level up, level up, level up.
All right, item 16.
Item number 16, approve Amendment 1 to 2019-002-RFP agreement with the Gearing Group, Inc. for benefit consulting services. On May 7, 2019, the council approved contract 2019-002 with the Gearing Group to provide benefit consulting services. The contract outlined that the consulting services, as well as Bentech, the city's electronic benefit systems, would be paid via percentage of commission payable to the insurance providers. This amendment seeks to change the method of payment from a commission-based percentage to an annual flat fee. An annual flat fee will allow the city to pay the benefits consultant for services directly, where a commission-based percentage is a percentage of the annual premiums collected. Staff recommends approval.
Absolutely. I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
How about a second?
Second?
Any other discussion on this item? I think this is a win-win. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 17.
Item number 17, approve a ropes course use agreement with Empower Adventure Operations Tampa Bay LLC. Empower Adventures Tampa Bay has provided zipline canopy tours and team building experiences at Mobley Bayou Wilderness Preserve since 2016. Their operations have been very successful and have brought visitors to Oldsmar from far and wide, contributing to numerous ecotourism opportunities offered here. In support of their continued success, the city and Empowered Adventures entered into a new use agreement on September 6, 2022, to continue to provide zipline and team building services that met the requirements as set forth by the Florida Community Trust. To continue its success and meet the demand for expanded outdoor adventure opportunities, Empowered Adventures has requested and worked with city staff to identify an area in Mobley Bayou Wilderness Preserve adjacent to the zipline facility to design, construct, and operate a ropes course on city-owned land as an addition to their current operations. This agreement has been reviewed by the city attorney. Staff recommends approval of an additional separate ropes course use agreement with Empower Adventure Operations Tampa Bay.
All right. Joe, do I understand you have a little bit of a couple slides you want to share with us? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Oh, cool. Not just any slide.
Right.
Nothing necessary to be said, Joe. Wow.
So this particular course will be aimed at delivering our Level 2 leadership product, which is leadership of teams. So our existing course right now is all about our Level 1 leadership product. That's leadership of self, being able to overcome challenge, adversity, fear, and temptation. And when you can do that, any obstacle in your life is overcomable. This particular course is designed to be negotiated and run through as groups. So groups actually have to work together to be able to negotiate the obstacles and move from point A to point B to point C. And so this particular course is aimed at that level 2 leadership where youth, corporate, adults, churches, sports groups will all have the opportunity to come in, work together, and learn some of those things that go from a group to team and what that means and how you have to work together to do that. So this would allow them to do that off of the ground.
Fantastic. So I guess you could say that the city council would be your first team to try it. Would you say that?
Absolutely.
I'm ready.
All right,
Open
I like
invitation.
that.
There's safety harnesses and helmets, Andrew, so we should be.
Well, there's no wheels with treads on them.
That's true.
Probably pulleys, other round objects, but no wheels.
You had a helmet the
Tires.
last time, though, right?
Only a top, only a
Only a
helmet.
helmet?
Can you describe
no one
some of
restraining
the
me, though.
elements? Like how, for example, how would you work together to negotiate one of?
Sure. So there are a series of cables, series of essentially elements, as we call them, that are constructed to where you'll have different pulley systems and different ways, ropes, pulleys, that you have to work together as a team to be able to reach.
Right, so you can't move forward unless you're working
Correct.
with me. for
Exactly.
you to
So you're working
reach
multiple
that
systems
side.
that have to work together in order
Gotcha.
for the element to move.
Very cool.
They covered pulley systems in engineering school, so I feel really good about this.
I'll have Andrew on my team.
Well, you're gonna be our leader, okay?
All right.
You're gonna
Team
be the
lead.
lead. You're gonna grab the team and we're gonna go for
Be
it.
the crash test dummy,
Yeah,
right?
you're gonna. So your, current position, where is this gonna be? Can you explain to us so we know?
Sure. So if you walk down the driveway, down past Mobley Bayou to the cul-de-sac, where the fishing dock is there. If you walk through the cul-de-sac, down the sidewalk along the water area
That
there.
little sidewalk they got there.
That's right. It'll be off to the left.
Oh, perfect. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's in the,
It's in the packet.
so this is like the tripod.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
That's right.
Wonderful.
Motion to approve, Mayor.
Oh, boy, do I get a second?
Second.
Any other discussion for Joe?
I really only have one question. Seeing the Swift Mud presentation, they're not blasting in this area, are they? Is that gonna affect your construction time?
No.
No.
I was curious, I just didn't know.
Yeah,
if
completely.
It
It's a
looked close.
great question. I was actually wondering the same thing, but
He's already conveniently left.
according to their map, they'll be on the other side of the bayou.
Yes,
Yeah.
they'll be on the other side.
All right, so I remember the grand opening of the zip line.
Yes, sir.
City council was the first ones to go, so is that okay? Do you agree with that,
Absolutely.
Joe?
Absolutely.
Leadership Pinellas with me, so you.
Let's do it.
All right. Andrew's gonna be our leader. We're doing it.
Let's do
We're
it.
all going down?
We're all going. We're gonna be a team, like you
Not
said,
down.
team
We're
building.
going across,
We're going across.
not down.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you all.
And you're a great partner for the city of Oldsmar. Thank you for
Thank
all you
you to
do.
the city of Oldsmar. Thank you all.
You got it.
Item number 18, approve a lease agreement with the Oldsmar Historical Society. This agenda item presents a new lease agreement between the Oldsmar Historical Society and the City of Oldsmar for real property located at 101 State Street for a period of up to 5 years. The space is currently occupied by the Oldsmar Historical Society. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you. I need a motion to approve.
So moved?
Got a motion. How about a second?
Second.
I got a motion in this second. Any other discussion?
Thank you to Mary Ann Cruz, our president of the Oldsmar Historical
Yep, hanging out
Society is
here.
here.
Jess is here, yeah.
It's that $5 a year. That's crazy. It's so much money.
That's like a mug's worth of.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Mary Ann, thank you for all you do for the city, and thank you for all you do for the Historical Society. And thanks for hanging out with us tonight.
She's got one more.
She's got one more.
One more, she's
Yep.
got
Not
one
done
more.
yet.
Item number 19, approved lease agreement with the Women's Club of Oldsmar. This agenda item presents a new lease agreement between the Women's Club of Oldsmar and the City of Oldsmar for real property located at 207 Exeter Street for a period of 5 years. The space is currently occupied by the Women's Club of Oldsmar. Staff recommends approval.
I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any other discussion on this?
Again, thank you to the president of the Women's Club, Mary Ann Cruz over here, and also our treasurer, Jessica Opit is here tonight. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you both for your service to our city. We really appreciate it. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, thank you, city manager. Anything else? Oh, yeah, you got one more thing. We have another item. Yes.
It's not an agenda item, but something that I would like to present to you in a formal setting. So it's our pleasure, and I say our pleasure because it's me presenting it, but it's the talent of the city staff that's put this together. So with facilitation and a lot of guidance and help from our new assistant city manager, Tracy Miller, and the department directors. So it's our pleasure to present you with a 2023 Oldsmar strategic plan. As we've entered this year, we've worked very hard and diligently to advance the City of Oldsmar strategic planning efforts. Putting all of these pieces together begins with the development of a strategic plan that aligns our work for the next calendar year to your council priorities, as well as the existing mission, vision, goals of the organization. The plan there's 3 pieces or 3 sets of papers. There's a cover letter of submission, and then you have the strategic plan in a document. And then you also have we call it the placemat, but it is, and I don't know if you can zoom into this, Wes?
Yeah, this is a fantastic document.
But, and we're gonna post it all on the site, so keep zooming, Wes, until my head disappears.
There we go.
A little higher. There you go, right
Okay, so I
there.
don't know.
Angle it, angle it.
Angle
Don't
it,
move,
okay.
don't move too much now. Don't move.
All right.
Left hand forward.
Okay, so it really describes, we've got strategy elements, you've got big ticket strategic plan initiatives, and then major CIP projects. So along with this, we're going to improve our monthly reporting process that aligns to a strategy and performance management dashboard. So all of this is a work in progress, but I am just thrilled to be able to present this to you. Your ongoing support and commitment to our strategy efforts is greatly appreciated. If you see anything that you would like to see differently, just let me know. So thank you for interrupting the regular meeting to present this.
Wonderful. I would like to ask the council if they'd like to make any comments. I'm going to start with you, Vice Mayor. Do you have any comments you want to make?
I think it's amazing what our city staff has done and what they put together and delivering the vision of Oldsmar. So I think it's great.
All right, Councilmember Graver?
Same, wonderful.
All right. Councilmember Gannon, I knew you would have something.
Of course. So one of my favorite parts about this is that all of this information, so this is in tiny font, I'm not necessarily going to hold it up, but all of this information is going to be available on our website. So there's a huge element of transparency to this. So not only does it help, the department heads and all of our staff understand where we're all driving toward, but our citizens can go on this website and literally see, like Felicia was showing, each of these elements and the map of where we're going. So we have all of this information in our documents somewhere, right? But this collects it into a readable, understandable, sort of easy to digest and locate, okay, what department is this in? Okay, this is coming from Public Works, and this is for when are we doing this? Okay, well, you don't have to go look at the capital improvement budget and then compare it to our council priorities and then find out, okay, well, where are we on that? Well, let's send an email to Daniel Simpson and figure out, what's the timeline. all of it's going to be in one place. And everybody across the departments will be able to see it. And then our residents, if they have a question about it, they'll be able to just pull it up and they can see all of it. And updates will be posted. There's a description of each of the projects. So, you know, if you don't understand what the community risk assessment, standards of coverage study, you know, what is that? You know, you can find out exactly what that's for. And shockingly, that's coming from fire rescue. You know, there's so much going on, and I think that this helps provide that transparency, and it also shows how much our city staff is working on behind the scenes. That's not just like the day-to-day open, you know, unlock the doors and turn on the lights. There's so much happening. And I love that it's all tied back to those goals of economic development, infrastructure, public relations, quality of place, sustainability, transportation, and back to the vision and the council priorities. It's a beautiful, readable document, and I love that it's all accessible. That was huge to me. So I am so excited to see all of this online, as you can tell.
All right, Councilmember Knapp.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things. I'm super excited about this as well, and it's kind of interesting timing because shortly before this was mentioned in our one-on-ones of kind of the development of this and exploration of the software that they're using to kind of track all this and organize it, I shared a book recommendation with the city manager that is very much in line with what's going on here. Did you get it yet? You got it. Okay. You're really going to enjoy it. And for the rest of you, if you are ever so interested, the book is called Measure What Matters by John Doerr. And it's all about strategic goal setting, getting alignment, breaking down silos between departments. And it doesn't have to apply just to for-profit businesses. It matters for nonprofit organizations, municipal organizations as well. So if you're interested, it's really great. I got into it because we're trying to do very similar things through my employer right now to kind of get better publication of our goals, to make it more transparent, easily accessible across, you know, obviously that's just at our work. We're not going to make it transparent to everybody, but for this, it's trying to make it transparent out there so everyone knows, hey, this is what's working on, and this is how the very complex web of everything ties together. So I'm super excited, also kind of jealous that you're ahead of my employer right now and having things organized, but now I get to go take this to them and say, see,
I
this is
think we're
what can
ahead
be
of
done.
a lot of employers and
Yes.
municipalities.
So
in this
great job.
process.
Looking forward to it all continuing to link together.
Thank you, Tracy.
I agree. Great job. Plus, you know, like what Katie said, it's online. Our citizens can go and see whatever they want. One thing I really like is, Felicia did mention, this is gonna be like a table placeholder. We're gonna get them laminated, so they're on our, when we come into the dais, they'll be here for us, so we have it. If we have to look at it for something for our meetings, it'll be here, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I just, she showed me this, I was just very impressed. This is a perfect example of where our city is heading. This is the type of hard work that city staff is putting together, the council that's sitting up here, working together to get things done so that our city's moving in the right direction. All I can say is thank you to everybody, and I am really excited about this, especially to you. Thank you, Felicia, for being our city manager.
Thank you for the
You're
opportunity.
welcome. All right, you're done now?
Maybe.
Never. I don't think she'll ever be
It's
done.
actually working right now.
That's right.
Behind the
All right, our next item on the agenda is City Clerk Ann Nixon, item number 20.
Item number 20, approve certain external organizations using the city seal for calendar year 2023. Florida Statute 165-043 states the manufacturer, use, display, or other employment of any facsimile or reproduction of the municipal seal, except by municipal officers in the performance of their official duties without express approval of the governing body, is a second-degree misdemeanor. Approved organizations are provided the in-partnership city seal dated for the year of approved use. Should the organizations require a city seal which does not date their material, then the material and request are reviewed by city staff for the use of the full city seal. The following organizations request or are likely to request approval to use the city seal for the 2023 calendar year. There's a list in the packet. We have added two broad categories to this request. Sometimes organizations holding special events for which council has waived fees and organizations approved by council to receive charitable donations will request use of the city seal. Granting a carte blanche approval for these situations would keep the approval process simple while retaining accountability.
Thank you so much. Recommended motion is approve certain external organizations using the city seal for calendar year 2023. I need a motion.
So moved.
I got a second.
Second.
All right, I got a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Thank
Oh,
you.
yes, Councilmember Knapp.
Just a couple comments, Mayor. I'm thrilled that we got this done as we do year over year. What's interesting to point out with those two final bullets of the broad-based categories that the city clerk mentioned is we kind of have some sort of process that rolls along with that, whether it comes essentially before a council meeting for approval for the other aspect of it, if we're going to waive a fee or we're going to approve somebody for donations. So I don't know if it's worthwhile to consider for calendar year 2024, right? Because we're approving 2023 now, of formalizing something that still keeps things simple, but, because it was as listed up above. It's organizations that have requested or are likely to request. There's some that we don't really know if they ever do use in partnership with SEAL. So it's just something to keep in mind. Not saying we got to do it right now, because obviously we're just trying to address what's here in the moment. But I think it's something to maybe we kind of put on early next year to try to figure out, like what we just did with charitable organizations. We don't want to complicate it and make it more burdensome, but at the same time, having a more formal, like, hey, if you want to use it, ask for it. We're not going to likely say no, but
Check the box, yeah.
Good point.
yeah, and those two last ones really already have some sort of formal process where it would just be another question on their application, right? If they're asking for funds or asking for a fee waiver, hey, are you going to use the seal? Or would you like to use the seal for your event or for your organization, given that we're giving you a charitable donation?
Good point.
So.
All right, any other comments? I just have one. I noticed that this list keeps growing every year. I remember it was like 8. Now it's like 20. So thank you.
Well, part of the reason that the list is growing is you have people that would come in during the year and ask here and there, and we're trying to ask for one time rather than
Okay.
continually come back to council.
All right, I have a motion, I have a second. Discussion's done. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 21.
Item 21, consider the request of $1,000 by the North Pinellas Advocates for Racial Equality. The North Pinellas Advocates for Racial Equality, MPAIR, a 501c3 organization, requests a grant of $1,000 to help fund data gathering regarding the needs of minority small businesses of North County. The request and specific documentation is attached. MPAIR's goal is to complete 100 interviews by January 1st. Clearwater, Safety Harbor, and Dunedin have each contributed $1,000. Tarpon Springs is still considering MPAIR's funding request. The city manager invited Dr. Broom to attend tonight's meeting. I do not know if he's here.
Okay, would you like to come up and speak to the council, please? We would appreciate that very much. Thank you for coming, by the way.
So, I'm Dr. Carol Mickett. I live in Tarpon Springs, and I'm on the board. I'm the treasurer of NPR. And I have to say, before I say anything, this is the most delightful city council meeting I've ever been to. And the collegiality and the respect you have for the staff, it was really fun to sit through the meeting.
Oh, well, thank you.
So do you have questions of me, or?
Only thing I wanted to mention that I saw that it looks like that Clearwater, Safety Harbor, and Dunedin have already contributed. Is that correct?
That is true.
That's the only question I had. Is there anything else? Yes, Councilmember Graber?
Doctor, I researched your board of directors. Can you tell us the current members of your board of directors?
Yes. Our current members are David Shellor, who's the minister at the Presbyterian Church in Dunedin, Dr. Michael Broom, and he owns his own company. He's the president. He does leadership. He's an organizational psychologist. Me, Dr. Carol Mickett. I have a PhD in philosophy, and I'm a professional artist. Oh, wow. And Mary Lynn Morris She is a professor of dance at USF in Tampa. Jeff Gow, who's on the City Council in Dunedin. Jeffrey Lorick, who's the director of the Office of Human Rights for the county. And Zeb Atkinson, who's the head of the NAACP for North Pinellas.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Right, I just wanted that stated for the record.
Perfect.
Right.
Vice Mayor,
No comment.
anybody else? Yes, go ahead, Councilman.
Just one thing,
Knapp.
Yes,
I'd
sir.
like to kind of apologize that this is dragged out a little bit in terms of coming to a decision, because we kind of started to institute a formal process for basically approving requests for any sort of funding from the city. And so having you here and at least be able to meet somebody from the organization is great. And we didn't really understand at the time any pressingness of timing for the activities that are anticipated to be conducted. So having more information now makes it easier to make some sort of decision. So thank you for coming.
At this point, what we're doing is we're creating a database. And we're meeting, we've hired some people to meet with different businesses of color throughout North Pinellas. And we're creating a database, and we're finding out from the companies what they need and what they want. And then we'll share the database with all of the communities involved. We will create and present programs that we think will be important to help the businesses develop, be more stable, contribute to the taxes in our communities, and become better participants.
Yeah.
So it's a really win-win thing, and North County, as you know, it's got lots of municipalities, and it's really great if we all work together.
Yeah.
Councilmember Cannon?
Yeah, I was, similar to Councilmember Knapp's comments, I was grateful to see that there is a deadline, that there's a deadline to complete the interviews. The goal is January 1st, so I'm glad we got that information, and that Tarpon and Dunedin have contributed. That was helpful too. Some of the deliverables that you just mentioned, I'm hopeful that maybe we'll find out if there's some businesses that have a need that they might not realize that the city has a matching, sort of opportunity. So I'm excited for that, and I'm grateful that you came tonight to tell us a little bit more about the organization. Thank you.
Thank you.
Two things. Number
Yes.
one, thank you for coming. And the second thing is, I sit with Jeff on the PSDA board, and we've talked about your organization a couple times. He keeps bringing it up.
course
He
he
wants me to
does.
get involved. But I've been busy, but I just want to say again, thank you so much for coming. So, team, I am looking for a motion for approval.
So moved.
How about a second?
Second.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Look forward to
Thank you,
learning the
Doctor.
data.
Thanks for
Thank you for all your hard work, and thank you for coming tonight. It means a lot to us. Item 22, Ann.
Item 22, approve excused absence for Vice Mayor Buckman from the November 1st, 2022 council meeting.
I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
I got a motion in a second over here. I don't know who went first.
Second, I'll
I got
take
one of
the
these
second.
two over there. All right.
One way or the other.
Any other discussion? Are you sure you want to do this, guys?
Yes.
I mean, we still have to vote, right?
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Vice Mayor got out of a meeting.
I don't think he was happy to get out of it. I think he was more disappointed that he was ill.
That's right. All right, item 23.
Oh, well, that's under you
Is
guys.
that under you? Uh-oh. hold
That's
on.
you.
That's you.
That's back to Felicia.
Do you want me to?
Yes.
I can read it.
Yes.
Okay. Authorize the city attorney to draft an ordinance amending the minimum age of permitted golf cart drivers from 16 to 14, or as otherwise directed by council. Mayor Saraki requested this item be added to the November 1st council agenda. The item was tabled to November 15th with an amended title. Please find attached a literature review regarding this topic for consideration. Staff recommends keeping the minimum age at 16 years old.
Okay, so we talked about this a lot when Vice Mayor was out. So Vice Mayor, I'm going to let you give us your
Can I just make,
feedback on this.
I just want to make one quick clarification. When I made the motion to approve the tentative agenda last time with this item tabled, I intended to table it as a discussion item and not as an authorization for the city attorney to draft an ordinance. That being said, I do want to hear Vice Mayor Buckman's thoughts, but I understand that a motion might be made for discussion purposes. I just want to make sure that I put all that out there because I saw this and I was like, wait, what?
So I'm going to let him speak and then I'm going to talk.
Yeah.
And I'll explain to you what I want to do.
Okay.
Okay? Would that be all right?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
all right, so.
And forgive me, Vice Mayor, no, and it's not, it's.
We have to talk in a minute.
I'm next.
Forgive me, but I really just want to make sure that we understand, and Officer Martinez, our ordinance doesn't say 16, correct? It says valid driver's license. From what my reading of it says, all persons operating a golf cart on city streets shall, upon request, be in possession of a valid driver's license. Shall be unlawful for a golf cart to be operated on city streets by any person who is not the owner of and in possession of a valid driver's license. In my conversation with your colleague 2 weeks ago, he advised that a learner's permit is actually a valid driver's license, but you have to follow all the other permitting rules. Is that accurate? So that is a valid driver's license, but our ordinance doesn't specifically say 16. Is that correct?
I'll jump in here. The ordinance does not say 16, but it does say valid driver's license, and there is a distinction under the statute between a driver's license and a learner's driver's license. So that's really the issue. And under the learner's driver's license, you can be 15 years of age as long as you meet all the other requirements of the statute.
Okay, and that's the only reason I wanted to say that before we.
No, thank you for doing
further.
that.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're all clear
No,
on exactly
thank you
what
very
it said. So forgive me, Vice
All
Mayor.
right, you're up, Vice Mayor.
I'll wait.
So first, I want to thank the council for my consideration on this, simply the last meeting I was not here in attendance. I really appreciate tabling this because it is a direct impact on me. But it's not about me. This is about the citizens and what's right for the citizens. So I do have a 16-year-old daughter. I have a 13-year-old daughter. It would be great if they could drive the golf cart, go where they need to go to the park, go places they need to go. But, as a parent of the kids, golf carts are not built for safety. And, St. Pete Drive is not somewhere that's controlled. We know it's kind of crazy on St. Pete Drive. I get nervous crossing there all the time. 14-year-olds don't know the rules of the road. We make an argument that 15-year-olds with permits do, right? My recommendation is keep it at a valid driver's license. I think that's the safest thing for our kids. I think if we want to look at it and allow kids who are 15 with a valid permit, they at least know the rules of the road, but they would still need a parent to be with them at that time. Maybe there's something there we could allow the 15-year-olds, but for right now, I think it's best if we just stay with 16 valid driver's license and go.
Okay. All right, any other, you already went, Councilmember Graver. Councilmember Knapp, did you want to mention anything before we go ahead?
Sure. So I think I mentioned this last time, but, I'm open to exploring the ability for somebody with a learner's permit, if they're following the same rules as if they were in a motor vehicle. It sounds like, according to what the city attorney just said, that our ordinance would not currently allow for that. So I'm open to exploring that, because if there's a parent in there, again, it's less safe, but once they're 16 and have a valid license, then they can go do it right now, right? So I think ultimately that's kind of the individual and the parent's decision as far as what they're going to be allowing their children to do based on what is legal to do. But I'm open to looking at that, because if there is a parent in there, that's the risk that they're both choosing to take at that point of getting into a less safe mode of transportation than a motor vehicle. So, but keeping it as is right now until we come up with something different, I don't think it would be too complex in terms of the modifications needed to allow for that. But
Okay.
I can see where, that provides some opening up of the ability to use a golf cart while it generally being as safe as it can be given the circumstances.
All right. Councilmember Gannon, would you like to add anything else yet?
I would just reiterate some of the comments that I made at the prior meeting, which is that I would not be in favor of making any changes. I think the safest route for our residents, for the kids in our area, is to leave it at having a valid driver's license, not a learner's permit. So I would want to leave it as, the ordinance as is, and if we did explore that in the future, I can disclose that my vote, if it was to add, or a valid learner's permit or a learner's driver's license, I would likely vote no on that as well.
Okay.
It just hits too close to home. I feel similar to Vice Mayor Buckman. It's just not safe. It's just not safe. And it's not a matter of if there's going to be a golf cart accident. It's when, right? And God forbid it be in the city of Oldsmar when we, make a change to our current ordinances to make it slightly less safe. I can't.
Thank you. All right, so I have a couple things.
Mayor,
Oh,
if I may.
yes.
The
Yes.
way that the ordinance is currently written, and from what I understand, a learner's permit is a valid license to allow you to drive under certain restrictions. So that is a valid driver's license. Our ordinance does not say 16. So to get to Councilmember Gannon's objective, and I don't call it an objective, might be a strong word, but to make it 16, we'd have to make it 16, from what I understand. Because a valid driver's license, as long as you abide by the restrictions put with a learner's permit, is a learner's permit, from what I understand. So it being silent as to the specific age, there would be, if no changes to it, would still allow a 15-year-old with a valid learner's permit to operate a motor vehicle as long as they follow the other restrictions.
So I must have misunderstood. When I was listening to our city attorney just a moment ago, I understood that to be two separate types of driver's licenses. And as it currently stands, it is only the official full driver's license that we currently allow. But please clarify.
Right, that's what we need
Yeah,
clarification.
please clarify.
All right, so the statute defines them differently. The
Okay.
statute defines one as a learner's driver's license and the other as a driver's license. Our ordinance doesn't make a distinction. It just says driver's license. So, my opinion would be that they have to be 16 years of age and have a driver's license. The deputy may interpret it differently and may allow a 15-year-old with a 21-year-old that has a current driver's license sitting on the seat immediately to the right to operate that vehicle. That's the way that I'm seeing, and I think that's what Councilmember Graber is saying. It could be interpreted either way. They're the ones that are going to interpret it. What you're suggesting is well, we can actually clarify this if we want and say valid driver's license or valid learner's driver's license if we wanted to change the code to make it absolutely clear. Or we could change the code saying you have to be 16 years of age and have a driver's license. Right now, it just says valid driver's license. So it's however the deputy is going to enforce it.
So I would probably go the total opposite direction and say valid driver's
Only.
license.
And that's
Valid
where I was
driver's
going,
license
right?
No
and-
learner's license.
All right.
And 16.
Right, so you go to traffic
But-
court when you're 15 because, you need a valid driver's license. You say, well, the statute says this is a learner's driver's license. It doesn't say it's invalid.
Right.
I mean,
But that's not what's currently before us, so I'm not,
Right. So-
making that
forgive me.
motion,
I know, I
but
just, okay.
All right, any other discussion before I go? All right.
Go ahead.
All right. Two things. So 2 weeks ago, I was at the Safety Harbor Wine Festival. There were golf carts everywhere, all types of ages. It was a free-for-all. I mean, they were everywhere. So I just wanted to share that with you. Number two, I think tonight, we should make a decision, just leave it as it is, no motion at all, or we make a motion, as Katie mentioned, take it to 16 with a valid driver's license. So that's the other option. And the third option would be to take it to 14, which is our state statute, correct?
That's correct.
So I'm going to leave it up to you guys on what you would like to do. So do we have a motion or we have nothing? We'll just let it die.
you want to skip a couple steps, I'll make a motion to authorize the city attorney to draft an ordinance amending the minimum age of permitted golf cart drivers to 16 and having a valid driver's license.
Do I have a second? Okay, then the motion.
Second.
Oh, we got a second.
Okay.
All right, we got a second. Any other discussion? So we're going to change our ordinance to 16.
Well, we have to vote on the motion.
Well, I know,
first.
but I just want to confirm with Tom, okay? All right? You want to do roll call?
All right, Councilmember Graber,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Buckman,
No.
Councilmember Knapp,
Yes.
Councilmember Gannon,
Yes.
Mayor Saraki.
No.
Motion to change the minimum age to 16 with the driver's license passes with 3 votes for, 2 against, Buckman and Saraki dissenting.
Correct. Congratulations. You got it.
Okay, so I'll be bringing that ordinance back.
Okay, does somebody want to speak? Did you want to speak, Jim?
Yeah,
Yeah, you'll be bringing that back. Thank you, Tom.
Hi, my name is James Hummel, 132 Arlington. At the end of the last meeting, the mayor asked me, since I was on the auxiliary ranger with the Pinellas Trail, to kind of go over this real quick. I don't know whether you people know this or not, but when I went to the FDLE, so everybody knows what it is, it's the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. And I also presented my presentation that I'm going to do to you to Sheriff Bob Galtieri. And he agreed with me 1,000%. So I'm going to start off with this question that I'm going to ask you, and then I'll give you the answer afterwards. Does anybody in this room know what the term defensive driving is? It's a two-part answer. So I'll let you think it over. In Oldsmar, you also have other areas that are a risk and concern. In the last 2 weeks, 5 people have been hit walking on the sidewalk at R.E. Olds Park. One person had to go to the emergency room. So I gave all you council members and the city manager, and I'm just going to explain this very quickly so the general public is up to date on it. So when they're walking on these sidewalks, these are present in this city. Hover around, stand on people mover, top speed 10 miles per hour, use balance to move forward. Scooter, stand on people mover, top speed 10 to 15 miles per hour. Gas or battery. Battery life is 4 to 8 hours, between 30 and 40 miles. Believe it or not, which shocked me, 98% of these people that operate hover-rounds and scooters, they ride on sidewalks. They don't say, or they don't have a horn on the unit, they just barge through. The lady that fell down hit the side of her head. She had a concussion. She was at Countryside Hospital for 3 days in ICU on somebody that raced through on a scooter, knocking her down. Golf cart, sit-in people mover, top speed 10 to 45 miles per hour, depending on model, 6 to 10 batteries. People ride hover-around scooters without helmets, insurance, do not obey traffic laws, and they ride on sidewalks. Golf carts do the following. Now, some of these were given to me by the actual Pinellas County Sheriff. They don't yield, they ignore stop signs, children ride golf carts, and they park wherever. Now, Florida law states you have to have the following, a permit and insurance in order to ride a golf cart. All 3 people movers need guidelines, not just golf carts. There is some states that require you have a license plate on a golf cart. Believe it or not, when a golf cart hits somebody, what course do I have if she comes down the street and runs me over because she looks at her cell phone? Some states require a license plate. You have to carry property damage, and you also have to carry insurance. When I lived up in New York for 6 months, I had a scooter. The top speed was 30 miles per hour. License per year was $35. Insurance was $10,000, which was $125 per year. Property damage is $10,000, which was $125 per year. To ride my scooter for 6 months in the state of New York, it was $285 per year. When you ride on the Pinellas Trail in Tarpon Springs, when I first lived in Tarpon Springs, I was issued a $35 ticket because I rode at night and I did not have proper lights. Okay, now here comes the shocking part. Statistics. Any young person on hover-rounds, scooters, golf carts has an accident, 62% flee the actual scene, and they don't report it till their mother until law enforcement catches up. Most people think all golf cart operators are safe. Latest statistics from the FDLE show golf cart operators are 98% dangerous to communities and population. That blew my mind away. So the conclusion is lowering age on golf carts opens city to lawsuits. City has to mandate all low-speed vehicles before something happens seriously. Now here's the biggest shocker of all. Anybody that's operating a golf cart under the age, most people think, okay, the parents carry property insurance and they have regular insurance. Well, believe it or not, this is what the FDLD director told me. The person operating that vehicle is also held liable for any damages to property, individuals, or any other person. To get back to what defensive driving is, everybody in this room that operates a motor vehicle, defensive driving is, you can ask any state trooper. It's a courtesy and a privilege to drive, and that also pertains to scooters, hover-rounds, and golf carts. And I thank Mayor Dan Saraki for giving me this challenge to point it out to the citizens of Oldsmar, and I thank the council for giving me this opportunity to express this to the citizens and the staff. Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. We appreciate you very much. All right, next item on the agenda is update on public participation plan. City Manager Felicia Donnelly.
Thank you, Mayor. The city staff is currently researching public participation policies and planning to propose a draft policy for consideration.
Well, that was easy. That was quick.
That was good.
All right, item 25, approve hiring process for our new city clerk. Am I reading that or are you reading that?
I can read it, Mayor.
Would you mind?
As a charter official, City Clerk Ann Nixon has tendered her resignation effective March 31st, 2023. The City Council should consider a process to be implemented to secure a new city clerk. As there are numerous methods that can be utilized, it is recommended that the council approve a desired methodology. The below steps outline a potential process and approximate schedule for this recruitment effort. It's provided for reference purposes. Step number 1, City Council reviews and approves an updated job description of the city clerk. November 15th, City Council meeting. Step number 2, city staff under the direction of the city manager will advertise a position opening on appropriate platforms, including the city's website, LinkedIn, Florida City County Managers Association, Florida Association of City Clerks Association. Employment applications will be directed to the city manager, November 20th to December 31st. Step number 3, a third-party panel, either a municipal recruiting firm or a panel provided by the Florida Association of City Clerks Association, will review the applications and create a short list of potential applicants, no more than 5. Please note that the cost of recruitment firm would be about $6,000 for this effort. A third-party panel would have a couple weeks to review, January 2nd to January 13th. Step number 4, city staff under the direction of the city manager will perform all background screening consistent with the requirements for city employment. That would take place from January 16th to January 27th. Step number 5, council members would individually interview the applicants on the short list in person, by phone, or through online conferencing. That would take place about January 30th to February 3rd. Step number 6, City Council will perform a final interview and select the preferred candidates in ranked order at a work session, which would be scheduled for February 9th. Step number 7, the city council will provide guidance as to the salary considerations and employment benefits to the city manager and city attorney, preferably at the February 9th work session. Step number 8, city manager and city attorney will negotiate the terms of employment agreement with the potential candidates in ranked order. Step number 9, city council will consider approval of the employment agreement February 21st. Step number 10, anticipated start date for the city clerk is March 27, 2023, if this is the methodology that you choose to employ. I also want to note that we did hear today from the Florida Association of City Clerks. They did propose, they have 3 clerks with master municipal certifications that are available to review for that date, January 2nd to January 13th. Other items that you all may want to consider as an alternative include, and this isn't the full list, but some other things, is the number 1, procuring a recruitment firm to conduct the recruitment process in its entirety. And that includes posting, screening, 2 rounds of interviews in person or virtual, selection and screening, and that we think would be about $15,000 to $25,000 depending on the ask. And then another thing would be the consideration of another party or parties to negotiate the proposed employment agreement. So this is just a basis for your all's discussion and for you all to approve or come up with a desired methodology to secure a new city clerk.
Okay, let's start out with discussion. Anybody like to go first? I personally think that the outline here that the city manager has given to us 1 through 10 is absolutely perfect. I think I personally like that, and I'm opening it up to comments. Councilmember Knapp, you have any comments on that?
Ditto. I would say that as it's laid out, without the extra 2 items proposed at the end, seems pretty robust in terms of a process. I know that we may wind up with some constraints there around item 3 in terms of some timing of whether we may be able to get that as a no-cost item versus that $6,000 for the recruitment firm per discussion with the city manager this morning. So I think it looks good.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
I think the process looks great. I like the option to go external for the
Okay.
hiring process. It helps us in that process, but 2, also kind of keeps it a very open, transparent process. So I like that.
Councilmember Graber?
I echo your sentiments, Mayor. The 1 through 10 is what I'm comfortable with.
Okay, Councilmember Gannon?
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate this process and especially the time deadlines too. You know, it's already the middle of November and I hate that March date, but I understand the March date. But, you know, it's important that we get these things going because we don't want to be upon that date and miss an opportunity to do this in an organized and transparent manner. I do agree with steps 1 through 10, that first list. I would not be in favor of like a nationwide sort of national recruitment effort, the 15,000 to 25,000 with the 2 rounds of interviews, because I think we're looking for someone who is already knowledgeable about Florida laws regarding open meetings and records requests, someone hopefully who has experience in another Florida municipality, and I think that would kind of cast the net just a little bit too wide. And I think that the city manager and the city attorney can effectively negotiate the agreement after we do the interview process and ranking. I think it's a great idea to perform sort of individual interviews, because of course that's part of the council's jobs according to the charter, but then the sort of ranking publicly each candidate, and then it's very clear and transparent, and then kind of moving forward. So I would be in favor of approving this step process 1 through 10 as it's written here.
Wonderful. So I just have a couple comments. I really feel that 1 through 10 is perfect because of our city staff. I mean, Michelle, I mean, since you've been on board, you've done an amazing job for human resources here at the city. So I think that our staff is very capable of handling this. And as we go forward, if we need to approve the expenditure of the 15 to 25,000 as we go, we could add to that later, but I don't think that's gonna happen. I think we're gonna be fine. So I'm looking for a motion to approve methodology for the city clerk hiring processes 1 through 10.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is item 27, adopt council representative for Forward Pinellas. We've talked, oh, I missed one. Darn. Okay.
I got
You can do
it.
that one.
Item number 26, approve the city clerk's job description and target salary range. The city council should consider and approve a job description and salary range for the recruitment of a new city clerk. After a cursory survey of city clerk salaries in the area, it's recommended that a target salary range be $80,000 to $100,000. The job description is attached. And the job description has been reviewed by the city clerk, human resources, and myself.
I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second?
Any other discussion on this item?
Can I just
Yes.
make a suggestion
Yes,
here?
please.
I didn't have an opportunity to review the job description. I would just make one suggested change in the education experience, the third bullet point. It says knowledge of Florida statutes, including government and the Sunshine Law. I think you should also add in there the public records law. So it'd be government and the Sunshine Law, comma, public records law, and experience of Florida governmental proceedings. That is a major portion of Ann's job every day, is public records law, so we should include that. The only other suggestion or thought I would have is whether or not that you want to make it an absolute requirement that the city clerk be from the state of Florida. I mean, obviously, you could have somebody that's in Georgia or South Carolina that's familiar with all these things and have all these accreditations, but do you want to allow someone to come in from another state, or do you want to make sure that it's just a Florida applicant? So I'm not sure you have to include that in the job description, but maybe some direction to Felicia on that. But at least we need to add in public records law in that third bullet point before you approve that job description.
I agree with you. Felicia, you have any comment on that?
I don't. We did put in there that Florida Association of City Clerk designation is preferred.
Oh, yeah,
And it's up to you all if you want to, if we can, you know, say state of Florida experience is preferred.
Yeah, that's what you can add. If that's the direction, I'm just throwing that out there as a thought.
Right, because it would be, you could have experience but not currently be a clerk in Florida, but have had maybe Florida clerk experience.
10, 20 years ago.
Florida
Right.
notary.
Especially with the
Florida,
sunshine
right.
laws here in Florida are
Right.
so different than other states.
Okay.
Okay. So I have a motion,
I would ask that someone withdraw that motion.
okay?
Was that
I didn't
your
make the motion. Did you make the motion?
Oh, I did. I withdraw.
You want to
mine.
amend your motion?
Or amend
Or
your motion?
I'll amend the motion to include the recommendations of the city attorney regarding the education experience, third bullet to include records law,
Public records.
public records law, excuse me.
And
And state of Florida.
And state of Florida experience preferred.
State of Florida experience preferred under the, is that gonna go under that licenses section?
yeah.
Okay.
Is that good?
Second.
All right, well, I got a motion, the second, any other discussion?
Just so sad. Just so sad.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes,
depressing
and we will miss
Was
you.
depressing.
All right, appoint council representative for Forward Pinellas, and I would like to ask Vice Mayor Jared Buckman, would you be willing to be our representative for Forward Pinellas?
Can you remind me of the dates, times? one more time?
Wednesday, I believe it was Wednesday from like 1 to 3 or 1 to 4.
Once a month?
Which
Yeah.
Wednesday?
The third Wednesday.
Yeah.
Third Wednesday, I think it's 1 to 4.
Okay. I'd be honored to serve, Mayor.
Okay. Need a motion for that, right? I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Jared, you got some shoes to fill.
I know
It's a
I do.
2-year term.
Thank you, Mayor.
December 13th is the first. Oh, yes, can you make it for December 13th?
Absolutely.
You sure it's the 13th? Oh, my calendar in front of me. That's, that would be the first meeting.
I'll reach out to them tomorrow and
I'll send it to you. I have it, because I sent it to me, and I have another engagement, so I will need you to take care of that.
My
I don't think
suggestion is
that's a
that
good
you should be
idea.
sending him.
Oh, okay, all right, okay.
Just have the city clerk
Oh,
or the
yes.
city manager provide the
All right.
information.
All right, next item on the agenda is council comments, and Councilmember Knapp, you're going first.
All right. Let's see, a few things. Thank you, Mayor. First, a few of us got to attend the bike trail ribbon cutting yesterday. Very exciting. I have not yet rode it or crashed on it, so. But looking forward to utilizing that in the near future. Next up, the mayor and myself were able to attend the talent show last weekend on Saturday. I thought it was a great experience. I'll tell you what, I don't know how long you stayed, but by the end, furniture and all kinds of stuff was wet from how the dew point that was out there. It was like
We were
grass
getting-
was
We were getting
saturated.
drenched.
Yeah, just sitting there. My furniture was wet.
My arms and my
Yeah.
legs, I was all wet.
But that aside, the talent was spectacular. I think my favorite was the near back-to-back performances of, what was that song that they played with the ukulele?
Oh, yes.
Anyways,
Over
that,
over the rainbow?
no, they played, it was by Vance Joy, Riptide. There we
Yes,
go.
Riptide.
That was good. And then the Miss Suda's dancers doing Thriller was so much fun watching what they did on stage, but also with my daughter because this was the first year she really kind of comprehended Halloween and got really hooked on watching the Michael Jackson Thriller video at home, like every day. She called it the werewolf video.
Scared?
Not scared at all. And she just kept drawing in close to the stage. She was dancing up there so close that Rob and Kelly O'Brien were sitting there. He comes up after and was like, man, that was great, but your daughter was hilarious, like dancing to Thriller. So it was absolutely great experience. I'm looking forward to many more years of attending the talent show and all that our city has to offer from its citizens in showing off their skills. Next, on Thursday, I will be participating in the Great American Teach-In over at Eastlake Middle School Academy of Engineering. About a month or so ago, probably a little less than a month, we hosted a group of students over at my work for a tour there at the manufacturing facility for Manufacturing Day. And they had such a blast there. They're like, man, we got to get you to come in and talk to the students there. So I'm going to go for part of the day on Thursday to talk about engineering. But I was like, well, and I can maybe talk about leadership too from being an elected official. So they were like, oh, that's even better, like icing on the cake. So really looking forward to that. It's my first time ever doing it. I remember sometimes enjoying and sometimes not enjoying presenters back when I was in school, because it's just whoever they can get to come and present. But yeah, I can't wait to go and see the school and see how much has changed since I was there in high school. They didn't even have the middle school back then. And then finally, happy early Thanksgiving to everybody. Hope you have a great holiday, a safe one if you're traveling anywhere, and make it back here ready for December to remember.
All right, thank you very much. Good job.
Thank you.
Councilmember Graber.
Thank you, Mayor.
I got you with that one.
Good to remember.
Well, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Make it a November to remember, I guess. Speaking of that, celebrate Oldsmar this weekend. Exciting. My kids are excited. They call it the circus, but they love going on the rides. So they've already told me the day they'd like to go, so we will be there with them in tow on Sunday. The tree lighting ceremony, I had to miss it last year because I had a League of Cities investment trust. Felicia demanded that my wife and children get in a picture, so that is a beautiful one, especially since I'm not in it, but hopefully I get to be in it this year, so that's going to be nice. And the mayor and I were across the street this evening at the art exhibit. It's fantastic. And they gave out awards and ribbons, and we got to take pictures and everything, but I encourage everyone to get over there and see the artwork. That's all I had, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I've got Councilmember Gannon.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a work commitment. I was unable to make it to the Douglas Trail ribbon cutting, but I wanted to specifically thank our staff because that project spanned, I think, a full decade. It was 10 years of work by people who have now retired. That includes people who have retired. So, Nan Bennett and Marie Daphne, I mean, the process of procuring coming up with the idea, procuring the grant money, all of our administrative services staff and the reporting that comes after it, the planning, Tim Jacobson, Tatiana, I mean, most everybody's gone home now, but, Daniel Simpson, I mean, everybody who was involved in that project worked so hard on it. And I know it's just, a part of the Douglas Trail, but it's so gratifying to see staff literally out there standing on the pavement of something that they started, a decade ago. It's so satisfying. So I just wanted to really congratulate everybody who was involved on that project. A very happy, heavenly 16th birthday to Jack Martin. I know he would be so proud of all the work that Operation Jack's Village has been doing. I know they're planning a ride out with the city to include all those sort of trick bicycle things, but in a safe manner. So more details to come on that. And they are continuing to work toward fundraising for Operation Jack Space. So just keep the Martin family in your thoughts. And Councilmember Knapp, I thought it was absolutely incredible that you honored Miss Eddy tonight on our behalf. I think I've already seen her 3 times this week, and it's only Tuesday, because she's still over at Oldsmar Elementary. I mean, she is an absolute fixture. I don't know how, but she knows every child's name. I swear to you, she knows every single child. She knows my child inside and out. You call over there and there's a problem. Is Miss Eddy there? Okay, that's who I was. Sorry, just put Miss Eddy on the phone. And it was so great to see her smiling tonight and to be recognized by a community that she literally helped raise. So that was really, really cool that you did that. And I wish everybody a really happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have much. I'm just excited that we're getting into the holiday season and that we're able to do it without any kind of restrictions and other things that have impaired the ability to do it in the past. The tree lighting ceremony, celebrate Oldsmar, Thanksgiving coming up. It's going to be an exciting holiday season, and I hope that everyone has a safe and happy, healthy holiday season.
Wonderful. I just have a couple things. Back to the ribbon cutting yesterday, I just want to thank the city staff for all coming out. I mean, it was great that we all got our picture taken together, and it's just a great event for our city. And Councilmember Knapp was there, and the Vice Mayor were there. Thank you. I understand you guys got commitment to work, but it was a good city event. I mean, it was a good city employee event. I wanted to just mention that. Back to what Councilmember Knapp said about that talent show. I can't believe we have that much talent in the Oldsmar.
Yeah.
The 2 girls, the sisters that sang,
Yeah, separately and then together. right?
yes,
Yeah.
they were unbelievable.
Great.
And the ukulele was, you're right, that was the star of the show. And then the art show, that was a pretty good turnout today, Steve.
Yeah,
And
no,
I,
great,
you know,
absolutely.
Showing up and appreciate that very much. Happy Thanksgiving, and that's all I have. Next item on the agenda is approve the tentative agenda for December 6th, 2022 council meeting. I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Does anybody wish to pull anything? Nope. Any discussion?
Dirty. It's not much on it, it's a pity.
I know.
Sorry.
You want to let Felicia get on it?
Hey, there's no second meeting in December. She's got to put it somewhere.
Tonight was a long one. You're beating me up.
It's all right. Work's
Getting
got to get
stuff
done.
I'm not
Getting
apologizing.
stuff done. There you go.
She gets stuff done.
All right,
That's
all in
right.
favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Happy Thanksgiving. This meeting is adjourned.
All right.
Takes
Leave it with Mark.